Hi, everybody, wherever you may be. It's nice to see you again. My name is Larry. Kilo 7, Hotel November is my call sign. I started this channel for a few reasons. The main one is because I just really love radio. Always have. Loved listening to it, love DXing. I just love the radio. I love the science of it and how it works. There are some wonderful YouTube creators out there who do such a great job. They really do. Ham Radio Crash Course, one that comes to mind right away. Bob Nagy, who I consider a very dear friend, AB5N, does some wonderful stuff. And I'd love to have been in Bob's, mind sometimes because he's had tough decisions. Like he had a 7610 ICOM and Yaesu 101D. Which one does he keep? That's Bob. He's brilliant. He's very smart. Dave Kassler, another one. Brilliant guy. In the military, bless his heart, knows a lot about electronics. Eric Hoffer, good guy, has a ton of subscribers, over 100,000 for Ham Radio Concepts. Another one, good guy. One of my favorites is honestly Jim Heath, W6LG. He has done a ham radio YouTube video series forever, helping people with the most creative stuff ever. If you have a chance, see some of Jim's stuff. When I started this channel, one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that what you got was what you saw in the title quickly. And it's no disrespect to other people who make videos. They're very good at what they do. But what I want to do is I want to put you in this chair using this radio and that antenna or the ones out back so that you can see what it's like. I want to give you that experience so that, you get to see what it works like. That's what you should be able to do. So that's really the whole purpose. Get in, quickly make the point, and be able to be succinct about it. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk about power. How much do you really need? How much is enough, right? We talk about S units and what it means when we talk about S units. S units really relate to what you see on your radio, okay? You take a look here, and what you're hearing is the audio from a distant SDR. That one's in Maui, Hawaii, about 2,600 miles away. I love to use that because it's right in the center of the ocean. And, it means I should be able to get all the way across the Pacific into Asia or Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, that area. Okay. We'll go back to S units. You see at the top, right up here, where you take a look at the pointer area. Okay. An S unit. Okay. 1/2 S unit is what you get when you double your power. Okay. That's a half an S unit. 1 S unit is when you double that power. A good example of that, just to tell you, if you start out with 5 watts, like what we're going to do tonight, 5 watts, double it to 10, that's half an S unit. Then you double 10 to 20, that is another S unit, 20 to 40, and so on. That's how it works. We're going to start, and I'm going to show you where I'm at here, and this might astound you. 5 watts. That's the RF power right now on the Yaesu 101 MP. Now, to make this real interesting, I'm going to use a wire antenna. I'm going to use a dipole. This is a modified G5RV. It's called the Z Sierra 6 Bravo Kilo Whiskey, the ZS6BKW. It's mounted at 48 feet in an inverted V position off of an MFJ 1904 HD adjustable mast. Okay. My neighbors hate it. They do, because it makes my house look silly. To them, but not to me. Because I know what it does. Watch. Now, I'm going to turn up the audio here on what you hear on this SDR. Again, this is in Maui, right in the middle of the Pacific. Not necessarily in the middle, but it's 2,600 miles out from where I am over water. Okay? And we know seawater is a great conductor. When a signal skips over seawater, it tends to go a lot farther than it does over land because seawater has, minerals in it, has salt, and salt is a conductor. So let's take a listen. Again, we're using only 5 watts. And we're going to go SSB, not going to use digital modes. I'm a microphone guy. Sorry. Let's see if this signal can be heard all the way in Maui with 5 watts. Hello, is this frequency available, please? This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. Okay. Now, I don't have the audio turned up too much, on the SDR. I don't want it to be too obtrusive for you. So now I'm going to turn it up halfway on the volume, okay? And I'm going to let you hear it halfway up, 5 watts. Is the signal available, please? This is Kilo 7, Hotel November. You can hear it, 5 watts. Now, the S units, it's got a noise floor between S3 and S4. That means I've got to get over that noise floor to be heard. Let's try it one last time. Just a frequency availability, then we'll just test. It's just a simple way to do it. Last call. Is this frequency available, please? This is Kilowatt 7, Hotel November. There you hear it, 5 watts of power. All right, so that's coming in right about an S5. Now let's bump it to 10. So we're going to double the power, okay? Now let's hear what happens. This is station testing, Kilowatt 7, Hotel November. It's just over S4. That's double the power from 5 to 10, but still right in the middle of the Pacific almost. Here we go. One more time. 10 watts. Station testing. This is Kilo 7, Hotel November. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to double it. We're going to double the power to 20 watts. Because remember, each double is half an S unit. Let's hear it at 20 watts now in Maui from my QTH in Independence, Oregon, about 2,600 miles away. This is station testing, Kilo 7 Hotel November. Again, you can hear it, right? That's, again, 20 watts. Let's go to 40. It gives you an idea of how far you can work and why QRP is so popular. Because it does work. Let's hear now at 40 watts. Station testing, Kilo 7 Hotel November. All right. Starting to hear it a little more now, right? Now on the S meter recording the SDR still hasn't touched S5. That's, to be quite honest. I'm looking right at it. I wish I could show it to you, but I can't. Well, maybe I could. I have to figure out if I can do that somehow. But that gives you an idea. All right, so let's do this. Let's bump it now to 80 watts. Station testing. This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. There's 80 watts. Now we're at S5 in Maui. So we started at 5, we gained half an S unit at 10, another, technically, an S unit at 20, technically another half, you know what I'm saying, half at 20, then another half at 40, another half at 80. Now we're at 80 watts, and you can hear it very well at 80 in Maui. Let's try one more time. Station testing. This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. You hear it perfectly well. Now that's at 80 watts. Let's go to what many stations use at full power, 100 watts. See if it makes any difference. It's only 20 watts, which would be technically a quarter of an S unit, right? Let's hear it. Station testing, this is kilowatts.
Station testing, this is kilowatts.
All right, that's a 100-watt signal. A 100-watt signal. Now that is going over S5 in Maui, okay? So we've went to 100. Now let's try CQ calls, see if there's anything that comes back. Is this frequency available? This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. All right, so now we're again at 100 watts. We will bump it to 2 just to give you an idea from there. Or technically what we should do is go from the 80 watts to 160 and then we'll go to 200. But you're really not going to hear much of a difference. You will, but not as much as you might think. CQ 40 meters. This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. Kilo 7 Hotel November. CQ 40 meters. CQ 40 from the Pacific Northwest of Oregon. This is Kilowatt 7 Hotel November. King 7 is name. Calling CQ on 40 and listening.
On 40 and listening.
Just remember, I better listen on my rig as well here for a signal that could come in that won't come in on the Maui SDR. All right, let's do this. Let's bounce, let's go back to 80 just to give you a better reference point. 80 watts. And we'll bump up the SDR again so you can hear it. You can hear it in the background there. And again, this is only at half volume. I haven't pumped the volume way up so you can hear this. Here's the volume way up, just to give you a reference point, okay? That's the volume way up on, the equipment that I have to be able to use to, do the video. That's it. Okay? So it gives you a really good idea of exactly what this sounds like all the way in Hawaii. All right, so let's go back to 80, where we're at now, and we're going to do the same thing. Station testing. This is Kilowatt 7 Hotel. All right, 80 watts. Bump it to 160. And let's do the same call. Again, this should be half an S unit. All right, now we're pushing over S5, which we should be. All right, because we're now at 160 watts. We bump it to 200, another 40 watts. Now that's, again, keep in mind, what we're doing is to bump it another half an S unit. We're talking from 160 watts, we need to go to 320. Now you're talking some sort of an amplifier, okay? Unless you have certain radios that can broadcast at 400. There are a few that do. Let's try it at 200.
Station testing, this is Kilowatt 7 Hotel November.
All right, so there you go. You can still hear it, right? Still hear it. But if we go way back down to 5, you can hear it there too. Watch. Now it's in the background, no question, it's in the mud, but it's there. One more time at 5 watts. All right, and finally we'll do this, we'll bump it up to 200. Actually, you know what, this will be more fun. Let's make this real challenging, okay? We'll go 40 watts. Station testing, this is Kilo 7 Hotel. All right, so 40 watts. Let's make a few CQ calls, see if anyone responds. Here we go. Is this frequency available? This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. We've been here for quite a while, so I'm sure the frequency's open. I've been checking my speaker on my rig as well as the SDR. So let's give the CQ call, see if someone picks us up at 40 watts. CQ 40, CQ 40. This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. Kilo 7 Hotel November.
CQ 40 meters, CQ 40, calling Pacific Northwest 1. This is Kilowatt 7 Hotel November. Kilo 7 Hotel November, calling CQ.
Calling CQ. This is Kilo 7 Hotel November. Calling CQ.
November, calling CQ.
Now I'm listening on my rig to hear if there's a response, obviously. CQ 40, CQ 40, Kilo 7 Hotel November, Kilo 7 Hotel November, calling CQ.
7 Hotel November, calling CQ. On 40 meters and standing by.
Well, that's good. I think that even if you don't get a response, which you never do know because you're doing live video, right? You're doing live. Again, this is only at 40 watts of power. That's it, 40. So if we drop down from 40 and we go to 20, and you can still hear it, and you drop down from 20 to 10, you can still hear it, and back to 5 watts of audio power. Last time we'll show this. This is with 5 watts. Audio using a wired dipole. Here we go. Okay, nothing heard on either the rig or on the SDR, which on the SDR, some people will use those. They'll listen in on the SDR and then they'll, claim the QSO. That's how it works. But that gives you an idea of the value of power. How much power really means. How much do you need? I think so many people get really wrapped up in power. Again, I did a video on this not long ago where I talked about the Tim Allen principle, more power. Love Tim Allen. But we get wrapped up. And by the way, Tim Allen's a ham. Yeah, he really is. He's a ham. We get wrapped up in power and we get wrapped up when we need the amplifier. But then what we forget is when we get the amplifier, we also need to get a better tuner. because you have to have a better tuner when you have an amplifier, because if you tune anywhere farther than, 3-to-1, and that's really pushing it sometimes on amps, on solid state, you don't want to go 3-to-1. You could blow your finals of the amplifier. So that's the problem. You don't want that to happen. So what ends up happening is you've got to buy a tuner, which can cost you, $300 to $600. My FMJ 1998 retails close to $750 to $800. It's a full legal, auto amp, so it will just auto tune. You've got to tune it to the frequency if it's above, a threshold that I set, which is typically 1.7. So that's the whole point. You've now invested maybe, even if you buy yourself a lower end amplifier used, you're still going to pay $700 or $800. Then you're going to pay for the tuner. Then you're going to pay for the feed line. You need good feed line. You're putting a lot of power through. Invest in good feed line, even if you're not putting power through. And by the way, what you're hearing this on is RG8U. Really, it's not, I'm sorry, RG8X. Excuse me, it's 8X. So it's not, the best. It's not like I'm using LAMR. So I'm using the good stuff. Not using air insulated coax. The point. It's why QRP operators love doing QRP, because it's a challenge. But it's a good example for you to see how well your signal can be heard from a great distance away using only just a little bit of power. That's the whole point. And this is off of a wire antenna. It's not off of a vertical. It's not off of, a directional. It's just a wire antenna hung up in the air. So it's the most basic you can get. So it's not giving any of the good stuff, really. It's giving the basic stuff to show you that your signal can still get out there. One final thing I want to show you just came to my mind. What if we moved to a vertical? What would that do to the signal? Well, let's see. Make sure no one's on frequency here or close by. All right, so I've just switched over now to the vertical. And keep in mind, I have, right outside my house, I have a power transformer. To say that causes me grief with RF interference would be an understatement. It's literally right at the corner of my yard. Okay. So let's turn the SDR up again in Maui. And what we'll do is we'll listen, again, we're at 5 watts. Let's listen to see what that signal sounds like at 5 watts on a vertical beam. Sorry, vertical, not a vertical beam, but a vertical antenna versus a wire. I don't think you're going to tell any difference. Let's find out. Actually, a little bit. I'm surprised. It is a little bit of a difference. It is a definite, noticeable difference. Still, noise floor between S3 and S5. Let's try with the vertical again. Okay, so that's vertical, 5 watts. Again, taking to the screen, just 5 watts. We'll do the double with the vertical. Just quickly. So, 10. Okay. 20. Now listen how clear that is. That's a 20 watts. 20 watts about halfway across the Pacific. That could make a CQ call right there. That is strong enough to make a good CQ call. It really is. In fact, One more shot. How long is this video? We're right now running 25 minutes. That's good enough. We're done. Too long. Too long. All right. So what's the big point? The point is, get in the video early if you can. I try and do that. I want to get in the video as early as I can to tell you what you're seeing in the title is what you're going to see like that. As close to like that as you can. So that is a wire antenna at 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, 160, and 200, and plus 100. So that means if you've got a 100-watt rig and you don't have an amplifier, you can still really get out, and you'd be surprised. You can use a lot less power and still get out. On that vertical at 20 watts, it was pretty close to the dipole at 100. It really was. It was. I mean, let's just, because we've already done this for so long, let's try. We'll show you real quick, okay? So at the 20 watts on the wire, on the vertical, let's do this call again. We'll compare the two at 20, all right? This first is, we'll switch to the wire. Okay, wire dipole, tune it up, make sure that we're good because we are changing antennas. Therefore, I want to make sure we tune the rig. So again, 20 watts.
This is station testing for Kilo 7 Hotel November.
All right, there's 20. That's 20 on a wire. Okay, now we're going to go 20 on the vertical, tune it up on the vertical, and we'll make sure and see where we're at.
This is station testing for Kilowatt 7 Hotel November.
Clear difference. The vertical makes a clear difference. Why? Because it has a lower takeoff angle. Much lower takeoff angle to the horizon than a dipole. A dipole is up, 15, 20 degrees higher. Right in that range. A good vertical will go about 12 degrees off the horizon. An optimal one, as Callum McCormick would say, M0 MCX, is about 5 degrees off. Those are solid. By the way, his DX Commander vertical antenna, it's the best buy on the market for a vertical. It's amazing. It really is. It's not going to cost you that much money, and he's got great customer service. So shout out to Callum. Shout out to Callum. Let's see if we can make a CQ call. We've done this a long time. 20 watts. Let's give it a shot. CQ40. This is Kilo 7 Hotel November.
Kilowatt 7 Hotel November. Calling QRP CQ. QRP CQ from Kilo 7 Hotel November. Kilowatt 7 Hotel November.
40 meters at QRP 20 watts. This is Kilowatt 7 Hotel November. Kilowatt 7 Hotel November.
Calling CQ on 40 and listening.
Okay. I'm hearing nothing on the rig. I'll try one more. And what we'll do, let's try this. Since we're already running this long, why not? We got time. Let's do this. What we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we're going to bump over to another web SDR. This time it's going to be in, let's see, let's go to Utah. Nah, not Utah. Utah's a little too close. I'm trying to mimic the distance if I can. That's the whole purpose. Okay. So there is one in Pennsylvania. It's in Milford. And they're also using a ZS6BKW receive antenna. Okay. So let's get it on the same frequency. Okay. All right. So same frequency here, 20 watts in Pennsylvania. See what happens. This is frequency this is kilowatts, 7 Hotel November. Ah. See, there's the impact of salt water right there. All right. So for those of us who don't live close to the ocean or close to a big body of water like that, we'll bump the power up. We're going to bump the up power to 100 watts. Just 100. Okay. So switch the webcam real fast. Again, this SDR is in Milford, Pennsylvania. So it gives you a good idea of where we're at. Their noise floor is between S4 and S5 there in Pennsylvania. Okay, let's try this. So you can't hear it. It's not there. Nothing there in Pennsylvania. Okay, so let's bump it to 200. See if we can be heard in Pennsylvania at 200 watts. So with 200 watts, we'll see if we can be heard there in Pennsylvania. Nope. And that gives you a good idea right there. Now, again, that's going literally two different directions. One is basically due east of me, and then one is southwest. So, 200 watts doesn't help you tonight going over land, but it does help you going over water. So if you live by the ocean, whether it's the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic, the Pacific, wherever, that body of water helps, okay? Sorry, the video was so long. I wanted you to see it, though. I want you to see the value of what low power can do for you if you're near water, and also to show that QRP is pretty darn cool with a microphone, too. You don't just use digital modes with it. Thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure. That's been the Yaesu 101 MP with both the ZS6BKW modified G5RV dipole. It's mounted at an inverted V at 48 feet, as well as the high gain AV680 vertical. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. God bless you. And thanks for watching. 73, everybody from Oregon, from Larry. Bye, everybody.